Thank you for joining us on Black Investments Matter. I'm Antoine Anderson. The results are in New York's 3rd District race. This one was where immigration took center stage. What is its impact on the African American community? And this issue in particular, why it is so important. Stay tuned. A community's life force, the life's blood of a community, is its ability to do business within itself. The strength of a community is its ability to invest in itself. This is why this issue is taking such a center stage, especially among African American communities, because our communities are becoming less and less African American. And no further do you need to look than at some of the demographic information coming in from the times of our parents till now. What you're finding is African American communities are pretty much the stopping point or the first stop on a migrant's journey into this country. Now, this is not a knock against these immigrants coming into the country, because this is the melting pot. But what happens is the African American communities and where we live take the biggest hit. You're finding that more and more African American communities are becoming more diverse over time versus less diverse. Now, it may be the same story all over the country, but by and large, no other community has taken such a hit in becoming less and less African American and more diverse than the African American community. It is that reason why so many of the businesses that exist in African American communities are other than us. We do not own our own grocery stores. We do not own our own gas stations. We don't do business within our own communities with ourselves. The products that we consume are from elsewhere. Until we correct that imbalance, we are not going to make the strides that we need to make. Now, this race took over for one reason and one reason only. It wasn't abortion. It wasn't criminal reform. It wasn't affirmative action. It was immigration. Because like it or lump it, when you're talking about affirmative action, that pretty much only affects a segment of the population, particularly the African American segment. When we talk about abortion, now that is pretty much a woman's issue. Not all men are so much geared up towards this issue. It's predominantly something spearheaded by a woman's right to choose. But this immigration issue, it's affecting everybody in this country. And no further than this race do you have to look. Let's take a look at some of the underlying or undercurrents of this race and what makes it so important for us to understand the business aspect of what's going on here. The conversation starts with the candidates themselves. We're going to talk about Mazi Philip first. She is an immigrant from Ethiopia who did not immigrate to the United States at first. She is immigrated to the nation of Israel. Graduated from the University of Haifa, also joined the Israeli IDF as a gunsmith. This is a story all in itself. She then meets and marries her husband, a Ukrainian-born individual who settled in Great Neck, New York, became very active in local politics, and that's a great story about legal immigration. Then we have her opponent, Tom Suozzi. Tom Suozzi is first-generation American. His father was born in Italy. And this, sir, is exactly what immigrating to the great state of New York was all about. But this immigration issue that we're dealing with is dealing with illegal immigration and what is happening at our southern border. This issue, whether we like it or not, was brought to the forefront by the actions of the Texas governor. I personally do not like how he's handling it, but at the same time, after decades of a porous border, people crossing over, whatever the narratives are, it's just not sustainable, because what has happened as this Texas governor started shipping illegal immigrants to sanctuary cities, as they're called, who bore the brunt of that migration? when the school was used in New York to house cold immigrants, and those American citizens of that community were told to stay home while their school was then being cleaned, uh, because no one bothered to tell the community that we're going to move some immigrants into the school as a housing or shelter. And your kids, yeah, well, they're just going to stay home and do virtual learning. Nobody told anyone in that community that. That is the kind of thing that drives communities crazy, because you're not listening to the people and you're making the people bear a burden that they're not meant to bear. It's one thing if we as American citizens open our arms and our doors for people who want a better life, but you don't do it by making our life or our standard of life less than. And that is a message that has resonated not just in New York, but also in Chicago, in San Francisco, of course, Texas, Miami, major cities, Colorado, are dealing with this issue, this influx. And there's just the dollars and cents impact on this. Now, again, when we talk about destinations for where migrants, legal and illegal, end up, they're in ethnic communities, primarily African American communities, because at some point in time, those communities are the least expensive to live in a major metropolitan area. That's just what it is. But as the demand for those homes continue to rise, with not just the influx of people coming in from elsewhere, what you're doing is driving out people by virtue of the prices of homes who have historically lived there. This is what exacerbates the problems of gentrification in African American communities. This, coupled with the low wages that we typically earn for the jobs that we do here, are another reason why it's becoming more and more difficult to sustain a community. Again, business to our community is the life's blood, and if you siphon off that life's blood, that community dies. What happens with the migrants when they come into a community? Well, they stick together and they build up from within. And sooner or later, what you start seeing is a convalescing of communities where they're helping each other out versus what the Black community does to itself. It is a very interesting dynamic, and this is one that is potentially, as much as you may want to disagree, it affects the African American community particularly bad, because we're now in competition for the same grants, same businesses, same locations as other individuals from other countries who, in many cases, will not pay the same taxes until they become naturalized citizens, who will not have not paid into the Social Security system as African Americans do. That is something of an imbalance in itself. With everything else that we are dealing with, this immigration issue has us by the throat. And until we start to recognize what's going on, we won't be able to fight this many issues at the same time. Now, what do? Well, we don't villainize or vilify the migrants coming in, but we do hold them accountable for coming in illegally. All right. We do not criticize or pocket watch any of the migrants who are making strides and getting what they have to get and get it together quickly. We emulate and try to model our businesses around what they're doing and treat their customers, our customers, the way they treat their customers. It's a simple equation. I don't know why we don't always do it. What the major obstacle is, but it is something that we all need to take into consideration. Let me know what you think about these comments. Again, it's not anything but dollars and cents with me. You look and see the strides that other communities are making, and then you see what's going on in the African American community and how we are being adversely affected by all of these decisions, yet we don't say enough about it. I think this issue is resonating particularly with African Americans as we start to see the more instances where things that the migrants are doing, like that beating in New York of some police officers. If an African American had put their hands on a police officer, making bond would have been the least of their concerns. We know what we're talking about. So, again, let me know what you think. I'll be looking at these comments, and remember, keep them clean, keep them non-racist, or I'll just simply block you. All right, talk to you later.